Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoroot.com. I'm really excited, beyond excited, to have my friend Will Lehr back on the phone. We haven't spoken in a while. So much going on both of our ends that it's a bummer, Will, that we haven't hung out in a long time. What do you have to say for yourself?
I've got small kids, so it's on you, buddy.
And I am a small kid.
Yeah.
So I heard you've been doing interviews lately. I heard the one with Jim Willie, and Jim is an amazing guy. I have followed Jim, and this is one of the reasons I want to talk to you. I've followed Jim since like 2001 with the Jackass hat trick letter and all that stuff. 2001,
Yeah.
like the very beginning. I think he's just started right around there. I think it was 2001, 2002. And he was a big reason why I jumped in viewership, because he, in one of his letters later, it was when Greenspan had left the Fed, and he said, Greenspan basically said, hey, we need to think about getting back onto a gold standard. Jim called me out in his newsletter and said, holy shit, maybe Bix Weir is right that Greenspan did it all on purpose and the Fed was printing money on purpose. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Jim's, always have been.
Yeah, that was a huge moment in the gold bug community, right? When Greenspan came out and was like, well, maybe there is a role for gold in the financial system after all. Everybody's like, what?
Yeah, that old road to root theory just turns around, bites you in the ass when you least expect it.
Right.
The other reason I wanted to get you on is many of our new followers on YouTube and Patreon and all that stuff are aware of Perpetual Assets, your company that deals in cryptos as well as gold and silver. But I'm finding that a lot of the people who follow me have completely forgotten about gold and silver at a time when we are seeing gold and silver. Every reason for gold and silver to go up is there. The question is the manipulation going to end? I believe it is, for a few reasons, mainly that the JP Morgan trader who admitted to manipulating it and admitted that his bosses taught him how to do it and told him how to do it, they delayed his sentencing until December. So I'm thinking between now and December, there's so many huge things that can happen as far as the end of manipulation for silver. And I wanted people to get in touch with you because most people don't even know how to buy silver anymore. And that's kind of scary, if you ask me.
Yeah. It's it feels like I've been on this road for about 10 years. I took the red pill, as they say, about 10 years ago. And the silver quickly became, and through your work and the work of others, a no-brainer asset choice for where this, financial paradigm shift is headed. And what we witnessed in, what was it, in 2010 with the silver price,
2011
when it exploded for a few months, and you've studied all that and traced it all down to what Bill Daley and the manipulation that took place there to drive it up, to bring in all this new money and new hands and then smash it down. And it worked effectively. Like, I had clients at the time, family members who got in, who had some newfound excitement about $30, $35 silver, whatever, and then smash. And we've spent the last 8 years or whatever at $14 to $18 silver.
And now we have a whistleblower who, from JP Morgan, the largest trader and largest holder of physical silver. They're the custodian of the SLV vaults. They, according to Ted Butler, have 800 million ounces plus of their own. A trader from that company specifically saying that, yes, we rigged the market during that time frame, and I was told to do it by my bosses, he had two bosses, Life Masters and Jamie Dimon.
All the while accumulating 800 million ounces. Like 10 years ago, they didn't have, I don't know about their silver holdings, but it wasn't, they weren't a major silver holder, right?
They were hardly anything.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, in the face of this $14 to $18 silver manipulation, they amass, this massive, almost 1 billion ounces.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you think, well, where did it all come from? And the biggest problem, one of the big problems in metal that the crypto guys have solved actually is the scarcity issue. We don't know how much gold there is out there. We don't know how much silver is out there. Now, I have, from my research, it's about 1-to-1 above ground. That there's about 6 to 7 billion ounces of gold above ground and 6 to 7 billion ounces of silver. Now, that's just from public record. I think there's a lot more gold out there, but some of the things that have happened in silver, and the reason they have to keep silver under control, is that it has been manipulated and suppressed for so long, which is like 150 years of manipulation of silver. And it's really insane. If you look at the work of like Charles Savoy, who digs into the past, he's a crazy dude. I've talked to him a couple times. He's an absolute lunatic, but his work is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And definitely, if you're interested in silver, you should be buying it. And you can buy it in your retirement account. You can buy it separately through Perpetual Assets, I believe. Correct?
Correct. Yep.
And they'll ship it to your front door, and very reputable human being you're looking at right there. So yeah, I think silver should be in everybody's portfolio. Most people on the road to Ruta have a certain amount of silver and a certain amount of cryptos. It's up to you to figure out what kind of balance you want there, but definitely, especially as the cryptos have gone up so much in the past 5 years, look into what has happened in the price of silver in the past 5 or 6 years, because to get rich in the world, and you're an investor, you want to buy low. And you want to buy as low as possible and then ride it up. And then if you're into selling, you can sell, or you can just hodl. Yes, you can hodl silver as well. So yeah, that's my silver pitch. And Will, why don't you tell us how, are there any minimums when they buy through you, or how does that process work?
On precious metals, we have a $500 order minimum. So, because we're just not really set up to do a lot of smaller orders. So there is a $500 minimum, and we have a number of different products on our website, and then we have a number of different products that we can get too. So if you're looking for a specific item, let us know. Yeah, silver is, through Charles Savoy's work and more research, you come to the realization that it truly is the Achilles heel of the Western fiat financial system. And I realized several years ago that in order for us to realize, a gain in order for silver to break out, it's going to coincide, it just by law, by math, it has to coincide with a whole bunch of financial madness and chaos and derivative explosions, implosions. So it appears that we are ever inching closer and closer to that time. It's felt for the last 10 years, it's felt like this, just this massive buildup that it's about to come, and somehow every day, every week, it continues to get even more built up. And so I think with the cracks that we're starting to see in the financial system, in the currency markets, in the bond markets, gold and silver, yes, they're incredibly manipulated and have been for hundreds of years, in order to support this fiat Western system. But they're I hear you say that they can set it with the click of a mouse, right? They can set it to zero. They can set it to $1 million an ounce. And that makes sense when you understand the derivatives. But like what we've witnessed in the last few weeks or month or two, appears that like they can only manipulate the price of it down so much, like 98% effectiveness or something. And then all of a sudden, when things really start rumbling like this, if you follow the silver acquisitions that's happened in the last month, this secret monster buyer, commercial bank or country type of acquisitions taking place, and it's the price has been moving. So in my mind, it's almost like what we've seen in the last few weeks is just par for the course. It's a little bit of the foam kind of rising to the top in the chemistry experiment. Like They can hold it down, the mass market only down so much. But when all these forces start coming into play, we start to see the signals going off. And I think gold and silver's, coming back like they were asleep for years, and just coming back onto the scene here recently is evident of that.
Hey, tell me about what you've heard about a secret big hand buyer in silver. What are the rumors that you're hearing?
Nothing, no specific rumors aside from, and I haven't gone into it that deep, but just that there were some large physical acquisitions that were taking place, and they were doing something about the manner in which they were doing it was very unique, and very sophisticated, like using all of these futures and derivative instruments in order to take delivery of large quantities without really disrupting the price. So it's almost as if this buyer has come in and used a lot of these same tools and tricks of the trade in order to amass very substantial quantities. I don't know what those quantities are in a short period of time, without really affecting the price very much at all. So there's a lot of mystery around it. I'm sure you've probably got some more goodies there than I do.
I wish I did, but it is eerily reminiscent, almost identical to what Warren Buffett did in the late 90s. And until the government came in and said, hey, what are you doing and why are you doing it? He amassed about 130 million ounces, which back then was huge. It's nothing near the 800 million ounces that JP Morgan has gotten. But I have long suspected and done my research into Warren Buffett, how much he says is true and how much is a lie. When you read about Buffett and you read his history and you read about what he says about his father was a senator. Howard Buffett is a huge gold bug. I mean, he was demanding that the U.S. go back onto a gold standard in the 40s. And Warren Buffett absolutely idolized his father, hated the banksters. So when I heard that Warren Buffett had amassed 130 million ounces of silver, I heard it in like early 2000s. It made sense to me that he would be involved in trying to take down the silver cabal and return the United States to a more sound form of money. But obviously his vocal, when he talks about gold, saying, "Oh, what use is it? It's just buried in the ground." You pull it out of the ground to bury it in the ground in a vault. He never really talked about why he bought all that silver. He never gave the justification. Obviously, it's the same argument as gold, except it's got the industrial use aspect as well, and it's highly manipulated, and it's in short supply, and. But he never really got into it. And then when he sold it, the banking cabal had busted him and his company called General Re. General Re is a big reinsurance company. They were doing some shady stuff. The powers that be got with the regulators and took Buffett into an office in New York City and said, "Hey, here's the deal. We're either going to throw you in jail for what your company has done, or you give us all this silver that you're hoarding, and we'll call it even." Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. They dropped the charges. There was no follow-up at all on General Re or Buffett. And then about 2 months later, the SLV was born. And that's where, when they originally started, there was like 110 million ounces that was the inventory. Everybody's like, where do you get it? And then a little while later, Buffett announced that they've gotten rid of their silver position. So yes, I think, with this new buyer, and given what I know about Buffett and his working with the good guys to take down the banking cabal, he hates bankers. You got to remember that. I think he is probably, he'd be my number one candidate as to who was the stealth buyer of silver. And if he announces something like that, holy moly, bar the doors for silver.
That's a real interesting take. The idea that here's this man who, major figure, right, in the investment world. Everybody who's done anything with investment has heard of Warren Buffett, who had this father, this very staunch gold bug that he really looked up to, And then we know he was pressured to sell the silver. We have some ideas on what other types of, pressure tactics this elite group of insiders uses against people. So Mr. Buffett potentially has been sitting there for the last several decades, just playing the game, right?
Well, yeah, and telling people, hey, yeah, get it. You got to get it in the stock market. Everybody, bailing out banks. The whole idea behind the good guys is they never thought we were ready for the transition out of the old system into something new. But that's the problem. Unless somebody's ready to press that red button and destroy the old system, it's going to go on forever. Our kids are going to have to deal with this, except it's going to be 100 times worse, just like our grandparents did to us. And I think I have a feeling that we are coming to the end of that game. I don't see any bailouts happening in the United States. That's how they got out of the last one in September of 2008. That's how the banksters got away with the crimes that they had committed, is that they went to Congress and said, we need $800 billion and we need to open up the Fed window for everybody and their mother. And people weren't smart enough back then. We didn't know the banking system. We didn't know about fiat money. We didn't know all the stuff that they've made movies about now. But now we do. Yeah. So if you walk down the street and ask, 99.999% of the people, would you be in favor of bailing out a too big to fail bank? They'll say, no, not a chance, no way. And it would take Congress to agree on something, and they're not. So, I mean, this is the perfect storm. All these perfect storms coming to a head now.
There's also this dissent that's been brewing, right? Where a good portion of people are starting to doubt their trust in authority figures, in things that they've been told, right? Whether it's Ellen DeGeneres, or whether it's, your head of the Federal Reserve, whether it's your president, whether it's the head of a bank, whether it's, all these things people are, of a lot of different walks of life, people are starting to go, So it's almost as if these bigger picture sort of disclosures and workings on that are these goings on happening with all of that is another level of readying the populace, the populace readying itself, right?
Absolutely. And I think we're there, or we're getting close enough. We're getting so close that I want people to, if they haven't made the move to a self-directed IRA, and that's the other thing I want to talk about. People need to understand the difference between having a self-directed IRA and having an IRA that you can just buy cryptos and silver in, but somebody else holds it. And that is just night and day compared to basically what you're offering and what a lot of these other companies are offering, because I am of the opinion that we are coming to a time where it's going to be, if you don't hold your asset, you will lose your asset. It'll either be stolen from you or be part of this massive global bankruptcy that will probably never get worked out. I mean, they're still trying to work out Mt. Gox how many years later?
Yeah.
And they still haven't. I've still got 0.9999999 Bitcoin in Mt. Gox. I'm in the, I'll get something back, but it probably won't be Bitcoin. But this is years later.
Right.
Do you really want your assets locked up years later and you get a fraction of them back? Because if you don't have possession of your own assets when this global financial catastrophe hits, you will lose them. You will either lose them or you'll lose the majority of it. So this is what, can you talk to us about what you guys offer that's different from another party that's offering cryptos in your retirement and silver in your retirement?
Yeah, and I would add on to your comment, even if the asset is insured. I mean, in your example with Mt. Gox, let's just, and I don't know about any insurance on the Mt. Gox, but let's just say there was an insurance policy, that there was a claim that was covering all of that loss of those however many number of Bitcoins. You're not going to be made whole in Bitcoin. You're going to be made whole in the underlying currency that the insurance is written in, which is US dollars. Which also might take a considerable amount of time to go through all the legal proceedings and the settlement and everything. I mean, what was the price of Bitcoin during Mt. Gox? Like $300 or $400 or something?
It was like $450. So as they were started to pay out, some of the claimants, they were paying out at $450. They were not paying at, $10,000 Bitcoin. So even though you had Bitcoin in there, they were paying out in cash at the time the bankruptcy happened.
Of the loss, right.
So yeah, and also insurance companies will probably be gone when the banks collapse anyway, because they're a financial institution invested in the same stuff. Mm-hmm. But also that's another third party. It's just, how many third parties do you want to add on to the risk between you and your asset?
It's true. Yeah, it's true. And it's why we started our company 7 years ago. We were in the precious metals space, working with you and guys like you. And we had a lot of clients, ears to the ground. We were selling a lot of bullion at the time. And we heard of people cashing out their IRA and 401k because they were afraid of a large event taking place, whether it's a Bernie Madoff type of an event or some type of restructuring losses, even a dollar collapse, whatever. And we learned about this unique type of self-directed IRA that has been in existence for some 30 years, authored into existence by a congressional attorney. So the insiders have been using this structure and this platform for decades, and it's in the law, so it's available for all of us to use. It's just it's not advertised on CNN and Fox News for obvious reasons, because it takes money out of the commercial banking system's control. And that's where they make money. They make money on assets under management and on trades. So when you pull it all out of their bank and you manage it all yourself, intangible assets that you're touching, that you're managing and controlling yourself, they don't make any money. So this platform, it allows the individual to take control of the investments, not just cryptos, not just precious metals. It could be just about anything imaginable. I mean, there are some rules and regulations within the IRA space, and we walk the client. It's our job to walk you through all that stuff. Like, you can't personally use the money because there's no regulatory body looking over your shoulder when you do this. We go through about a 3 to 4 week process of getting all the legal documents and paperwork created so that this thing gets approved. Once it's approved, you are the hedge fund manager, if you will. You're managing everything without any filling out paperwork and things when you want regulatory approval because you want to buy Litecoin or whatever. You just take the cash and go buy the Litecoin. So it's a wide open, it's the most versatile platform in the retirement space. And so when cryptos came, at least on our radar, I mean, we knew about them back in 2013, but it was kind of this anarchist libertarian sort of pie in the sky dream back then, at least for me. And it took a couple years for me to really wrap my head around, oh my God, this is going to change the way we do everything. But 2015, 2016, we realized, oh my gosh, this IRA LLC that we're setting up for people is hands down the best way to invest in crypto, any asset with your IRA. So if you've got money at Merrill Lynch or Fidelity or an old 401k or an old pension, and it's just sitting there, and this is a way for you to get it out, get it into your control, and make and manage investments like cryptos yourself without paying the taxes and penalties. It's not an IRA distribution or a withdrawal.
Not only that, and this is the reason I did it, because of the way it's structured in a retirement account, you can trade all you want within your account and not pay capital gains until you take your distribution, and then it's based off your income, I believe.
Yeah.
But especially with the IRS coming after the crypto guys right now, they're going after everybody. They're going to be going after everybody. These are taxable events. You when you trade cryptos, those are taxable events. They're either you owe money or you are getting money off of what your total capital gains are for that year if you lost money. If you have it in a retirement account, you can trade all you want, and they're non-taxable until you start withdrawing your retirement money when you're old. And most likely you're making less money when you retire, so your tax rate will be lower than right now where you have a job, and so you're paying a higher tax rate and things like that. But there's another thing that I was thinking about the other day on one of your, it was either an email or one of your discussions. You were talking about some of the clients of other, now I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, of other people who do what you guys do, who have hold cryptos and metals in their, for their clients, but they hold it. And I'm hearing that people are not being able to see their private keys, most likely because they keep it in a pool within their company.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so dangerous to do because you don't know how rehypothecated that is. And if they tell you, well, yes, it's segregated in your name, and then you say, can I have my private keys? They'll say, no, we don't give those out. That's your first clue. The second clue is, well, can I have my, if they won't give you your private key, you should get out. But if they won't and you want to stay in, you should say, can I have my public address, please? Because if they put the amount of crypto in your wallet, it will have, it's on the blockchain. It will have a deposit on that day that'll show up on your public address.
Just sitting there in that wallet, it'll have your 33 Ethereum or exactly what you bought on the date that you bought it, and it'll be sitting there. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And if they cannot give you that, you know it's a scam. You can do a rollover, get it out of there, get it into Will's self-directed IRA. And Will and Gus don't hold your keys. They don't hold your metals. They don't hold your cryptos at all. So there's no third-party risk. You are the one that holds it. They set up the program, that all the paperwork and all the structure. They set it up so that you can be the boss of your own retirement.
Yeah.
That's an amazing, freeing thing that so many people on the road to Ruta have taken advantage of that. And I personally want to thank you for giving all my customers the gift of self-directed IRAs.
Dude, it's my honor. And thank you for pointing them our way. And it really, like, you know, if you talk to successful people all over the world, they'll say, you know, if you can do something from the heart, you're going to have the chances of the greatest success. If you're working from the heart, if it's not just about making money, but you're working in service to others. And here we have both of those things. You know, this comes from the heart because I truly believe that we are headed into troubled waters, and that these accounts and these assets that people have worked their butts off for years and saved, I believe that they're at risk. And I believe that this is a strategy to take the risk away and put them into, remove all counterparty risk to where your assets are safe no matter what happens. And it is in service to others, right? I mean, we get the level of feedback that we get from people. I mean, we're not perfect. I might have a bad day and, you know, be snippy with somebody on the phone. It's rare. But for the most part,
I can't even see you doing that.
I saved those for Gus, actually.
Exactly.
He'll appreciate that.
Yes, when you call, ask for Will. Unless you want to talk with Gus. Gus is an awesome guy too.
Dude,
what kind of personality you want to do?
If you know Cuss with Gus, you probably love Gus. So, you know, feel free to dial his extension too. Yeah, I mean, the feedback that we've been getting over the years is, I mean, like life-changing for people. And Bitcoin Ben spoke to that the other day and kind of caught me off guard because it was like, wow, like I knew this, but you get back into work and you're doing your thing and you just kind of forget. So it's really awesome to hear that feedback that it's so impactful on people. It's not just, hey, I rolled over my IRA and I bought Litecoin and it went up. Yay. No, it's like, it's a very emotional feeling for a lot of people because they, this is their stored labor, you know, that they've worked hard for, and they may have even written it off mentally or thought it was going to be gone or whatever. And so, yeah, it's a powerful thing. And there are, to your point, there's a lot of different types of self-directed IRAs out there. There's crypto IRAs. There's precious metals IRAs where they're centralized, right? You don't actually control or hold the underlying asset. It's held at some trustee or depository somewhere, and you get a statement every month or every quarter. And many of those platforms cost as much money or more than this platform to set up. So in many cases, this is a cheaper and better alternative for the individual to manage the assets. So yeah, you've got to get, especially these types of assets, right? With what we're talking about, I mean, with Deutsche Bank, with derivative implosions, with the next 2008 only on a global scale involving the underlying currency or currencies itself. You're talking about massive write-downs, restructurings. I mean, to what you said a minute ago, that it might not be that your asset or your wealth gets stolen. It could be a part of a huge bankruptcy proceeding, like Bernie Madoff times 100. And I think there's a real possibility for this type of stuff happening. So if your assets aren't literally nailed to the floor, you can't with certainty say that they're safe.
Yeah, and if you've known anybody who's gone through that type of process, just talk to anybody who had cryptos in Mt. Gox, anybody who had investments with Bernie Madoff, anybody who had any type of process where it's like, holy shit, I gave my wealth, my retirement money, my fortune to the wrong person, and they'll tell you it's the worst feeling ever, and then you never know how much you're going to get back if you get back anything. I want this to be a two-part interview. So first of all, I'm not going to say the phone number of Perpetual Assets because I've said it wrong like 50 times. Will, why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you to either buy gold or silver, cryptos, or set up a self-directed IRA?
It is behind me there. I don't know if you can see it.
They can't see it.
It's 888-281-2630. Again, 888-281-2630. Yeah, you've released a video a week or two ago that was so awesome and kind and heartfelt and great, and you were just like, Perpetual Assets is awesome, and you had the phone number wrong. And it was
That's
fantastic.
nothing. I during that video, I even explained how I gave the wrong phone number years ago.
Yeah.
And I did the exact same thing.
So classic. Luckily, in the text underneath, you had you'd like copy and paste the right number. So and people were it was funny. I had people, hey, what's your phone number? Like, Bix just had a moment again.
It's classic. All right. So give Will a call, and then we're going to get started with part 2. We're going to talk about health and vitality. So hang on one second. We'll be right back. All right. We're back with Will Lehr.